where the ice finally broke. If Yuna had ignored him that morning, her life would have remained intact. She would still believe silence was strength. She would still fit perfectly inside the life she built. But she noticed him, and noticing was the mistake. The first time Yuna noticed him, it wasn't his voice, though his voice would become the thing that undid her. It was his hands. She was standing at the coffee machine on the 14th floor of the Nexus corporate tower, stirring oat milk into her Americano with mechanical precision, when the elevator doors opened and he walked in. Daniel Donald, new hire, senior data analyst, transferred from the Lagos office. She knew his name only because it had been circulated in a company-wide email 3 days prior, a brief, corporate paragraph that told her nothing real about him. The photo attached to it had been stiff, corporate, but even in that flat, lifeless frame, there was something in his eyes that refused to be flattened. But his hands told her everything. They were long, deliberate, and careful. When he reached for a paper cup, his fingers didn't grab, they received it. Like, even the smallest objects deserved attention. Yuna watched him pour his coffee in silence, and something in her chest shifted. Not dramatically. Not like the movies.
It was quieter than that.
More dangerous. It was the way a crack spreads through ice, invisible until the whole surface breaks. Seoul's corporate culture had taught Yuna to be invisible. At 31, she had spent nearly a decade at Nexus Financial Group, climbing the ladder with the kind of disciplined silence that Korean workplaces reward. She arrived early. She stayed late. She never raised her voice in meetings, never challenged a superior directly, never made herself the center of any room. She had perfected the art of presence without attention, of being seen without being noticed. It was survival. It was armor. It was loneliness dressed up as professionalism. Her apartment was clean and quiet. Her weekends were structured: gym, grocery store, a single phone call to her mother that lasted exactly 20 minutes and covered exactly the same topics every time. How is work? Are you eating well? When are you going to meet someone? Yuna answered each question with the same careful diplomacy she used in boardrooms. She had built a life that fit perfectly in a box. And then Daniel Donald walked into it. He didn't fit anywhere. That was the first thing everyone noticed, not just Yuna. He was too loud for the open-plan office. Not rude, not obnoxious, just present in a way that makes the fluorescent-lit room feel smaller. When he laughed, it came from somewhere deep, and it was the kind of laugh that made other people smile without knowing why. When he spoke in meetings, he didn't rush to fill silence. He let his words land, one at a time, like stones dropped into still water. The Korean staff watched him with a mixture of curiosity and discomfort. He was respectful. Always. He had learned to bow, had studied the unspoken rules of office hierarchy. He called the senior managers SSI without being reminded. He brought homemade food to the team on Fridays, jollof rice and pounded yam, and watched with quiet delight as colleagues who had never tasted anything like it went back for seconds. But there was something about him that refused to be compressed. A warmth that the cold architecture of corporate Seoul didn't know what to do with. He smiled at the cleaning staff. He held elevator doors open for the interns. He existed, fully and unapologetically, in a place that rewarded disappearance. Yuna watched him navigate it all from her desk, 3 rows away. She told herself it was a professional interest. Observation. Nothing more. She was lying. The first real conversation happened on a Thursday in October, when the autumn air had just begun to bite and the Han River turned the color of pewter. They were both working late. The office had emptied hours ago. The cleaning crew had already come and gone, leaving behind the faint chemical smell of floor polish. Yuna was finishing a quarterly report when she heard him, a low, humming melody she didn't recognize, drifting from the kitchen area at the end of the hall. She followed it without deciding to. He was leaning against the counter, phone in one hand, a cup of instant ramen in the other, singing quietly to himself. When he saw her, he didn't flinch or stop mid-note. He simply smiled, open, unhurried, and lifted his cup in a silent toast. "You're still here," he said. "So are you," she replied. A pause. The kind that, in Korean offices, would have been filled with small talk about the weather or the workload. But Daniel didn't fill it. He just let it breathe. And in that breath, Yuna felt something crack open inside her. A door she hadn't known was closed. "The song," she said, surprising herself. "What is it?" His eyebrows lifted, a flicker of genuine surprise that she had asked. "It's an Igbo lullaby," he said. "My mother used to sing it to me when I was small. It means, roughly, the night holds you until the morning comes." He said it simply. No performance. No romanticism. Just a fact, offered like a gift. Yuna stood in the kitchen doorway, holding nothing, and felt the ground beneath her shift. After that, the conversations multiplied. They didn't seek each other out, or, at least, that was the fiction they maintained. But somehow they kept ending up in the same spaces. The break room at 2 p.m. The elevator at 6:30 a.m. The rooftop terrace on clear days, where the Seoul skyline stretched out like a promise, and the wind carried the distant sound of traffic. Yuna learned things about him in fragments, the way you learn a language, word by word, pattern by pattern, until one day the meaning assembles itself without effort. She learned that he had grown up in Enugu, in southeastern Nigeria, in a house that was always loud with cousins and aunts and the smell of egusi soup. She learned that he had come to Korea 5 years ago, drawn by the technology sector, and had stayed because the work challenged him in ways nothing else had. She learned that he called his mother every Sunday without fail, and that the conversations lasted hours, not minutes. He was not a man who had made himself small to survive. He had simply arrived fully, completely, and asked the world to make room. And Yuna, who had spent her entire adult life shrinking, found herself staring at him like he was a language she desperately wanted to speak. The tension builds the way pressure builds inside the earth, slowly, invisibly, until the tremor comes. It was a Friday in November, the company holiday party. The rooftop bar had been rented for the evening, strung with warm lights that made the cold air feel almost bearable. Everyone was drinking. The usual hierarchies were softening. Laughter came easier, voices grew louder, and the careful choreography of Korean office life loosened just enough to feel human. Yuna was on her second glass of wine when she felt his presence beside her at the railing. Not touching, just there, close enough that she could feel the warmth radiating from him in the cold night air. The music from inside drifted out, something slow, instrumental, and the city below them glittered with an indifference that felt almost cruel. She didn't turn her head. She didn't need to. She could feel him the way you feel the sun on closed eyes, not seeing but knowing. Completely, undeniably knowing. They stood in silence for a long time, watching the city. Around them, colleagues laughed and clinked glasses and lived their ordinary Friday nights. But the space between Yuna and Daniel, no more than 2 feet of cold November air, felt like the only real thing on that rooftop. "Can I tell you something?" he said, not looking at her. "Yes. I think about you more than I should." The words landed in her chest like a physical weight. She gripped her wine glass. Her reflection stared back at her in the dark glass of the railing, pale, composed, giving nothing away. But her heart was hammering so hard, she was certain he could hear it. "Daniel, you don't have to say anything," he said, turning to face her now. His eyes were steady, serious, not desperate, certain. "I'm not asking you for anything. I just couldn't carry it anymore." It felt dishonest. Dishonest. The word hit her like a slap, not because it was cruel, but because it was true. She had spent her entire life being dishonest. Not with lies, but with silence. With the careful, practiced art of burying everything that didn't fit neatly into the life she had constructed. And here was this man, this warm, impossible, present man, and he was refusing to be dishonest. Even when it cost him. She looked at him. The city glittered behind his silhouette. The wind moved through them both. "I think about you too," she whispered. And the ice she had built so carefully, over so many years, cracked wide open. What followed was not easy. It was never going to be easy. There were conversations with family that went badly. There were looks from colleagues that lingered a bit too long. There was Yuna's mother, who cried on the phone, not from anger, but from fear. I just don't understand, she said, her voice small in a way Yuna had never heard before. I don't understand how this will work. And Yuna, for the first time in her life, answered honestly. I don't know, Iyama, but I know that I've been empty for a long time, and he makes me feel full. The line went quiet. A long, heavy silence. Then her mother said very softly, Then I want to meet him. The night Yuna truly understood what love was. Not the cinematic version, not the storybook version, but the real, terrifying, world-rearranging version. It was a Tuesday. An ordinary Tuesday. They were in her apartment, and Daniel was teaching her a traditional Igbo greeting, and she kept mispronouncing it, and he kept laughing. That deep, whole-body laugh, and correcting her with infinite patience. The apartment was warm. The windows were fogged from the ondal heating. His jacket was draped over the back of her chair like it belonged there. And for the first time in her life, the silence between two people didn't feel empty. It felt like home. And she stopped. Mid-sentence. Mid-laugh. She just stopped. Because she looked at him, really looked, and she saw it. The future. Not a guaranteed one. Not a perfect one. But a real one. Messy and uncertain and alive. She had spent 31 years building a life that was safe. And for the first time, she wanted something brave. Daniel, she said. He looked up, still smiling. She crossed the room, took his face in both hands, and kissed him. Not gently, not tentatively, but with every ounce of the silence she had carried for years. He kissed her back like he had been waiting, and the crack in the ice became an ocean. They didn't have a perfect ending. They had something better. They had a beginning.